Hi, welcome to Prayers Radio. I'm Rich. This
And
is
I'm John Waterhouse.
ba-da, and welcome to Prayers Radio. We are a podcast that's only about prayer, Science of Mind Prayer, Ernest Holmes. And today is a wonderful day because we just had our AI streaming change on us, and that's what that whole show is about. Today is on change. As you see, that's not Paul, but because Paul actually had an opportunity, and we wish him well on it. He might be coming back. Well, we'll see.
Hey, John had an opportunity too. I'm here.
Talk to me. Really?
Sure. This is great.
Well, go ahead. I'm going to have John introduce himself. You all know me. You've seen me enough times on Prayers Radio. Tell me a little bit about yourself, John. You were on show number, I think, 43? 43?
Was that recent? Wow. Okay. Well, I am John Waterhouse. I was ordained into ministry in the Science of Mind back in 1988. And I've been doing that ever since, and it is the essence of my life. I believe in the teachings of Ernest Holmes. Sometimes we disagree a little bit, but that's fine. That means I'm thinking. And I'm delighted to be here. I'm delighted to be having a conversation about change. It's one of the cornerstones of who we are in our spiritual movement, that change is inevitable and it's constant. It's happening all the time. So here we go. Let's change.
Well, we always want change from good to better, right?
Yeah, but I have had a thing happen with some of the folks that I've counseled over the years where I will say to them, this too will pass away. And when I say that, when they're struggling and suffering, they get all excited and happy. And when I say it when things are going well, they get pissed at me.
Oh.
Because they don't want it to change, but it's always gonna change. Something new is coming because we keep changing ourselves. Our consciousness shifts, and so does our world.
It's interesting you say that because a lot of people have specific changes. I myself have we're having change today because I was telling John and I logged in this morning and it's like, why is my password not at work? And then I log in and there's this whole new AI streaming studio setup. And I'm like, what? Okay. Well, do I adapt or do I go crazy and go, no, I just said, let's just do it. Let's just make it work. And that's why we're here today, because this is real world stuff here.
Well, I could argue that you've actually created this by entitling this particular episode a conversation about change. So you're experiencing it firsthand on every level right now.
That's interesting. Yeah. Even with my previous co-host, Paul, he had an opportunity come up and he's like, hey, it's at the same time. And I'm like, go for it. He's like, I am. And I said, yeah. So that's change right there.
Right. And me being here is change. And I consider that an opportunity as well. In fact, the more in our lives that we can see the change that's happening as an opportunity rather than a challenge, the better off we'll be.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Now, what is the prayer work involved in that, do you think? I mean, do we just...
It's not to stop change. That would be a waste of our time. The work that we do in consciousness around that is to adapt and to grow and to learn and to know who we are in the midst of all that change, because that's what's going on.
You know, it's funny. We had talked in the green room. We talked about one of Ernest Holmes' books, The Essential Ernest Holmes. That right now we're having some challenges in our planet with major conflicts. And back then, Ernest Holmes was in the Korean War, and there was a lot of changes going out there with young men and things like that. And it's the same thing. I was listening to it, reading. I like to listen to them, be quite frank, and then I highlight later in the Kindle book. But the thing that he points out now is the same stuff that we're experiencing right now. There's always going to be change. There's always going to be something going on, whether it's changes inside of something in the world or there's changes inside of something within yourself. And that within yourself is the only one where you can actually change your mind, because you are the one that goes in and then everything goes out into the universe. What do you think, John?
Well, I've come to the conclusion that the way our lives function individually and collective as a species is that we're kind of in a spiraling. And we're spiraling upward because we're awakening, we're remembering who we are, and we're dealing with these challenges that come. Anyone that thinks they're going to live a challengeless life is a fool, because the challenges will always be there. Now, perhaps those challenges will be of our own doing, our own conscious doing. If not, they'll be, excuse me, of our unconscious doing. And what I have seen again and again as this spiral, which is a series of circles, continues to go, that we have sections of that circle that deal with certain kinds of things. I believe that there are 4 pillars of life. There's our physical health, mental health as well. There's our relationship with money, which is wealth. There's our relationships, all of our relationships. And the final one is our self-expression. How do we bring ourselves to the world? And as we go through those 4 things, I think we again and again visit them. And a lot of that looks like challenges, but really what it is it's an elevation of our experience of understanding these aspects of our lives. When we call them challenges or we think they're wrong or bad, we suffer. And if we see them as opportunities, then we have the opportunity to grow from it, to grow in our awareness of ourselves. So I've learned not to find things to be bad or wrong, but simply to stay as focused as I can on knowing who I am in the midst of all of it. I tell people the problems you have are screaming at you to know who you are.
Yeah, but the thing is that anything that's going on with you, and that was a very, very good point that you made, because when we look at it and we say something as a challenge, you're making it negative.
You are.
You're absolutely pulling that in, saying
you're giving it power.
And anything you give power to becomes you.
Or comes at you, at least.
I like that. That's good. Yeah, there's always going to be something that's going to be there for you. And if there isn't, then you're probably doing nothing with your life.
So if I'm not doing anything with my life, then I have challenges like I get sick, or I injure my body, or I have money challenges, or things like that. Whereas if I'm progressing in my life, if I have a plan, if I'm moving forward, then the challenges I have are, what is my next step to make this thing happen? And when somebody says, no, you can't do that. So what do I do to not fall into that trap of being told no? And how do I find that direction that is going to take me where I want to go? With those kinds of challenges, we get results that serve us. The others just bring us back to a point of neutral.
You know, Holmes said to assert our individuality is to rise above the law of averages into that more highly specialized use of the law, which brings freedom rather than bondage.
I love that. Absolutely.
Joy in the place of grief and wholeness instead of sickness, which is exactly what we're talking about.
Yeah, freedom to choose, which is constant. We always have the freedom to choose. You know, I've never had anybody, when people come to me and they say, I had no choice. This is the only thing that I could do. That's not true. You had choice. You could have died. You could have walked away. And if I can see any others right away, I give them those as well. But there's always choice. Don't ever believe that you have no choice.
And if you don't think there's a choice, then you can pray to have that choice shown in you. But there's also the thing where you don't go down the path to make that change. If you don't have the guts, if you will.
Well, and that's like being in prison with the key in your pocket.
Well, we talked about on an earlier show that you know, somebody was saying, well, you can't, you know, you'd be a slave. Look, I was a soldier. Indentured servitude is what soldier is, and I was more than happy to serve our country. But you're a slave. You're basically you're turned over yourself.
They tell you what to do and you do it.
Exactly, and that's how it has to be that way with the military. That's something that you know, people don't realize. If you're in prison, you really don't have physically control of your own body, but you can pray a lot and do astral travel, if you will, or things of that nature. But that's
and the thing about prison that I learned many years ago from someone who was in Auschwitz is that You're always at choice as to what you're thinking. That that's your domain. They can do things to your body. They can lock you up. They can punish you. They can do things, horrible things, but they can't control your mind.
Mm.
And that's where your freedom always lies. And Holmes will tell us that that's all we've got is our ability to think. And that we think is what impresses upon spiritual law and creates an outcome.
Well, he also says the infinite mind is the actor and you are the announcer. So you
exactly love it.
Yeah, and that's the change itself is within yourself. You know, if you, you know, it was funny. It was you and I talked one time about lack and stuff like that, and we were like, you know, I'm lacking this, I'm lacking that, and I'm like, you're telling me no. Even Paul said that. You know, it's just because a lot of times I don't catch myself, and those of you that say that you do catch yourself, well, you may not catch yourself on that. It just. Nothing is real to us unless we make it real.
Absolutely true. That we're in control of our reality. Some people act as though there's only one reality. That's ridiculous. There are billions of realities. We all get to see it our own way, and none of us see life exactly the same.
Should I put that quote on that we talked about earlier?
Sure. I love that quote.
It's funny because I just quoted part of it. It says, nothing is real to us unless we make it real. Nothing can touch us unless we let it touch us. Refuse to have your feelings hurt. Refuse to receive anyone's condemnation. In the independence of your own mentality, believe and feel that you, and I emphasize you, are wonderful.
Wonderful.
This is not conceit. It is truth.
It is truth.
And that's page 55 on the Essential Ernest Holmes for those of you that want to look it up.
Yeah, I actually had the honor of preparing the July daily guides for the Science of Mind magazine. And what I chose to do was speak to each of the lines in the Declaration of Principles, but there aren't as many lines in that declaration as there are days of the month. So at the end of it, I chose some of my favorite quotes, and that was one of them. So I wrote about that and gave people an opportunity to think about that one day in July.
I love, you know, it's my company, my Alchemy Computer Services. We donated some tech time to them, and the Science of Mind Archives is a really good thing. And those
God bless the Science of Mind Archives.
Little plug for you guys out there for that. So
and my good friend Marilyn Leo, who envisioned that.
You know, it's funny. She's fabulous. And those of you that don't know Marilyn Leo, I suggest you look at show 46, which was right before your show, John, which is show 45. So that it's wonderful how they're actually doing all these things and the change that they did, because when they were changing over from one place that they were at to another place. I'm not getting into details because it's quite frankly it's none of the business of anybody else but them.
Right. And if anyone doesn't know who Dr. Marilyn Leo, she actually grew up on the same street that Ernest and Hazel Holmes lived on, and her father was one of Dr. Holmes's closest confidants.
Wow. Oh, I didn't tell you this. I went to the Simi Valley Church because I visit other churches. I'm over at OC Spiritual Center with Jim Terrell, but I every other week I like to visit a different church, and I go with my daughter. So this is sort of cool. Do you want to talk about change? I didn't tell you this, so you're hearing this first time. So what in one of the classes that I took, Jesse Jennings told us where Ernest Holmes is buried at, right? And so I did like a pilgrimage because I was in the area, and I said, well, might as well. So I drove down, and they have this big, giant castle at Forest Lawn. I mean, it's a castle that holds writers and red.
It's a mausoleum.
Yeah, I like to say
it looks like a castle.
Well, it's in the middle of a graveyard, so I'm like, no, it's a castle. But it does look like it's a mausoleum. Anyways, they were nice enough to point out exactly. I asked them. I said, "Here's the thing," and they were nice enough to point out where exactly it was. And we did there, and we took a few photo ops, if you will. We couldn't get behind the little banister thing, because they, I guess the family has it blocked off a little bit. But it was a good pilgrimage. It was a good thing. It's a good
great.
feeling in God. But I didn't tell you about that, did I?
No.
Oh, well, see, that's change, right?
Absolutely.
And it come to Jesus moment, if you will, that type of thing.
But Ernest would not like it if you compared him to Jesus.
No, I did the Christ consciousness. I said,
okay.
I had to change that. No, he wouldn't like that at all. And it wasn't really that. It was just that, it's neat to see different places and different things and have that change in the life. You just, everything's static now. You got to go out and change yourself in different ways of it. You have a podcast, right?
I do. I'm doing a podcast with Reverend Lawrence DeRusha. He was a co-minister in St. Louis for many years with his wife, Mary Jean. They have retired to Ajijic, Mexico, and he invited me to do a podcast with him. It's called Higher Reality. And we have conversations about the merging of science and spirituality. And I've had some great conversations. And if anybody's interested, you can go to Substack, and it's listed under Mystic Living Press, which is his company, and the publisher of my new book, which is called Spirits Awakening.
Show your book. Do you have your book?
I don't have that book yet.
What?
No, but I do have my book on prayer, which is what this show is supposed to be about. So I'll quickly show what that looks like. This is 5 Steps to Freedom. It's published by DeVores and Company. And if you're a practitioner, you've probably already read this. It's available to anyone. And it is an exploration into those 5 steps of spiritual mind treatment and how to effectively use them. And considered an important training tool. I actually wrote it as a teaching tool. And it came in very handy for me. And now I know a lot of my colleagues use it in the same way.
How did it become handy to you?
What was the question?
You said the book became handy to you. How did that become handy to you? Is it something?
Oh, because I use it in class. I had people read sections of it each week. I did an 8-week class on the Introduction to Spiritual Mind Treatment, which is the subtitle of the book. And I did that for years after the book was published, and used it to guide people through that process of understanding spiritual mind treatment.
Do you?
And by the way, Dr. Marilyn Leo wrote the foreword for it.
Oh, that's wonderful. Oh my gosh, that's wonderful. You didn't go to the CSL conference they had last
Unfortunately,
week.
I had a scheduling conflict and was not able to be there.
I did.
You did go, and you sent me lots of pictures, and I appreciate that. With colleagues, some of them I hadn't seen in decades.
Oh, I met 100 or so people. And it was absolutely fabulous being in the room with people who pray the same way that you do.
Oh, yeah. Nothing like it.
Oh, my gosh.
Kindred spirits, we call them.
Right. And those of you that don't know that, if you're around people that understand how the one mind works and how that individualized expression of you is around you, it's sort of like a harmonious thing, because you're sort of talking to people that understand the philosophy of science of mind is something that it has to be learned, in my opinion. What do you think? I mean, you teach classes.
I think that the principles of science of mind are relatively easy, yet they are challenging for most people to bring into the practice of their lives. It requires a great deal of discipline, is what I've always seen. And you have to believe what you're learning from Ernest to get it. But his teachings are clear. Not that he doesn't at times contradict himself, but when a man's written that many books and talked that many times on this topic, he was bound to do that. So I don't hold that against him in any way. But if you get the basic principles, the foundation of it, I don't know anyone whose life it wouldn't change.
Well, I guess when you look at prayer and apply it, it becomes something that changes everything in your life, because you realize that it's just you doing the prayer. It's
I'm
you.
reading one of, actually, Holmes didn't write this book, but it was the transcription of his lectures, and it's verbatim, so it speaks to you as though he's speaking rather than writing. And some of the wisdom in it, it's called Love and Law. It was actually put together by Marilyn Leo. Boy, isn't she getting a pitch today?
She is.
And it's a great book because you can almost feel like you're in the room with him as he's exploring these ideas of how mind works. It's brilliant.
Oh my gosh. You know, it's what's interesting is that when you speak your word of truth into law, you manifest what you want as long as you believe it. But the thing
that's the key. You have to believe it enthusiastically. If you say the words and think that's going to do something, you're lying to yourself. It really, and it's not a performance. Anybody that thinks that giving a spiritual mind treatment is performance is missing the essence of it. A spiritual mind treatment can be as small as saying the word no or saying the word yes. I mean, because I believe that any thought is a prayer, that there's nothing that escapes the mind of God. But it has to be the undergirding of that thought has to be that you really believe it.
Huh.
And if you do, and that's why I love the word for the third step of treatment, realization. I just realized. It's like, I get it. And when you get it, the law gets it. The mind of the divine gets it and takes that and creates it. And it's unescapable in that environment. But when we try to kind of force it, or we try to dramatically present it, it doesn't work at all. It kind of, I think mind laughs at us when we do that. But when we mean it, when we say it and it's true to us, then it's true no matter whether we say it loudly or softly, or it's just a thought in the back of our mind. All of that impresses upon the law of the divine.
That's deep.
Pay attention to what you think.
What's that?
I say pay attention to what you think. There's nothing more important.
Exactly. I've seen that where a lot of times if I've seen people manifest their greater destiny, I was just like, no, just what do you want? And remember to the previous thing, refuse anyone's condemnation. We talked about that before. Refuse to receive anyone's condemnation because you're putting that inside of your brain, which means that's going to be part of you.
Right.
And I've told people before, I said, I don't need that. I want to know what you're talking about. I want to know the specifics. Be, sort of computerized, or of a zombie computer, but not really. But at the same time, you don't want to put that garbage in your head.
Right. Oh, and here's another one. My amazing wife, Dr. Barbara Waterhouse, used to teach that the most important thought you have is the second thought. What could that mean? Well, sometimes things just blurt out of our consciousness and we hear it or we think it and we recognize it and we go, wait a minute, that's not the highest truth I can know. And the second thought is what you follow it up with. You let that one go and you restate with clarity and purpose the truth for you. And that's what the law takes and creates. So pay attention not only to your first thought, but to your second thought, because that's the one that really could make a difference. You negate any thought you have by giving another thought that rises above it. And if you do that, you can use that first thought as a guide to go, no, that's not quite it. Let me restate, or let me rethink that and come up with a way of saying it better. That's your second thought.
That goes back to that quote that we had, the infinite mind is the actor and you are the announcer.
There you go.
If you have a vague, subtle, unconscious fear, be quiet and ask yourself, who am I?
Yes, that's the big question.
What am I? Who is speaking? What is my life? In this manner, think right back to principle until your thoughts become perfectly clear again. And that's what you're talking about.
I agree. And so much so that I've been working on a teaching model. I'm calling it a retreat right now. And it's about 10 hours worth of work of creating a deeper understanding of the second step of treatment, which of course is when we identify ourselves as that divine presence.
Yeah.
I think many of us say that, but don't really believe it and don't have any evidence of it in our lives. So it doesn't really get where it wants us to go, where it can take us if we work with it. So I've got a formula that I've created, and I'll be starting to teach at centers around the country this summer on that very thing, and it's called Mastering Manifestation. That you can't go to step 3, which is that place where you actually put into the law the thing that you are claiming to be so in your life with any kind of fortitude or insistence until you know who you are. And that second step is so powerful. So I take people through a process to look at that in their own lives so that they can know who they are. I came to a point where in many of my treatments, I say, my word is the word of God. And that helps, but you need more than that. If you just say that, it doesn't do anything. But if you believe it, if you can back it up, then you have that authority. And I'll tell you, divine mind listens.
It does. Belief or knowing it? Which one do you think is better?
Oh, well, knowing is the better of the two. But I won't dismiss that Holmes used the word belief a lot, especially in his Declaration of Principles.
Well, it gives an idea of how to into being. Because if without the belief, you don't have the knowing.
Right. You got to start there. You really do. Correct. And then you develop that deep knowing, which comes, I would say that believing something is something that you harvest in the moment from your memory, from your subjective mind, that you believe something. And that's powerful. But what happens with knowing is you move into a state of habit where there's no thought, there's no collecting that information. You simply know it.
That habit, that's funny that you bring that up, because in life, a lot of times people get into that rut, that 9 to 5 grind.
Yep.
And it's life, but it's not living. Right.
They're doing it mostly unconsciously.
Yeah.
And that use of habit keeps us from moving forward. I'm talking about creating habits, excuse me, creating habits that automatically move us and elevate us in our understanding of ourselves.
That's interesting, because a lot of times, you've heard of have you ever heard of the phrase non-player character?
Say it again.
Non-player character.
No, I've never heard that before.
In gaming, it's those little guys that walk around the background that don't do anything, that go just like a zombie.
Yeah.
And and then until you walk up to them and talk to them. Non-player character. In other words, they don't become active until you actually talk to them. So in our own lives, we have that choice to bring that activity out to wherever we want.
Absolutely.
Going to the store to interact with something to get some food, or going to the gym and choosing what machine you're going to use. That's still non-player character, because you activate the specific thing that you want to do. That's interesting. Perfect. Bring that up.
It is, and I never heard of that term because I'm not a gamer.
I'm not much of a gamer myself, but I heard it on a show from a guy named Mike Adams, and I give him a plug on that. I can't really plug this up, but he had talked about that, and I was like, wow, look at this stuff, and it made me think, and I'm like, how many non-player characters do we have in our life?
Oh, untold numbers.
Well, we're almost at the 5-minute mark here.
Come on, really? I thought we just started.
We did. We could keep talking for hours if you want.
And we will. We'll just do it in segments.
We will do it in segments. So this is show number 55. I had it at 45 because that was your original show number, and I went, oh, wrong one. But John was on show 45, so you can check him out there. Let's go ahead and plug. I'm Rich Jarvis. I'm licensed prayer practitioner and other philosophies. I'm other things, but
and ministerial candidate, sir.
Well, that'll be June. I graduate. But yeah, that's fun. That's fun. Go ahead and let's plug your book again real quick and your site.
Okay, the book that I showed is called 5 Steps to Freedom. It is published by DeVores and Company. If you go to a center Center for Spiritual Living, it's available through their bookstore. You may have to request it, but it may be on the shelf. It's a standard reading for many people, and if you want to get a foundation of doing spiritual mind treatment, it's a great start. I've got another book coming out called Spirits Awakening. That's in the works right now. It should be out in just a few weeks, and we'll talk about that more in the future.
And I would highly suggest our audience to basically go out, and if you have a local CSL, go to classes. Usually, in my opinion, I think most of the first classes are free. And if you can't do that, go online, check them out. CSL.org has a lot of specific classes. Agape has a lot of classes. We've got Agape ministers on here also. And the independent ones also have those classes that are all science of mind based. Of course, we try to plug the ones that we know, but you have to realize that this is something that will benefit you immensely in your own life, in the own belief system that you're doing.
Oh, and let me plug my my podcast, Higher Reality. The subtitle is At the Edge of Understanding. It's about conversations about science and spirituality. I do it with Reverend Lawrence DeRusha, and we have another gentleman that joins us for that. And you'll see them if you go to Substack right now. We're working on getting back on YouTube and Facebook, but right now I'm guaranteed on Substack at Mystic Living Press. And we have great conversations there as well.
So since you've written a book, I would like you to pray us out.
Oh, I would be honored to do that.
And John will be joining us for the next month or so, as Paul has some stuff going on. So
there you go. And it's wonderful to be here with you, Rich. Thank you.
Oh, I'm just tickled to have you on the show, and we do have we do have guests coming on in the next couple of weeks, so it'll be fun. Next week it'll be a real good time. You'll see. All right, go ahead and pray us out if you would, please.
So, what I know is that there is a presence and a power that dwells in, through, and as all things. It's right here where I am. It's right where Rich is, and it's right where whoever it is that is listening to these words is. It is everywhere and always in the entire cosmos, not only present at the point of us, but infinitely present, meaning that all of God, all of the divine dwells at every point. And knowing that this is the essence of who we are, we know for certain that our work is sacred, is holy, is divine. So with every breath, with every beat of our hearts, we awaken more deeply and more fully to our divine essence. And I know that our time together has been well spent talking about these various conversations and concepts, and that we continue it week by week, doing what is ours to do. We do it with love. We do it in gratitude for all the blessings of our lives, from moment to moment, from day to day, and throughout eternity. We let that be so. And serious, and knowing with absolute certainty that this is so, I simply release this into the allness of spirit, knowing that this is the truth of our being and of all of life. And so it is. So it is. That was a great prayer. Thank you. See you next. We are prayers ready, and we will see you next week. And so it is. Good deal. Your prayer.